I tell you though, that Patriots Broncos game, it's almost a shame to not talk about how great a game that was.
You know when a good time to talk about that game is?
Weekly Rewind.
What a fun game that was.
Did everybody in the world know they were going to score no matter what? I mean, you just knew.
They hadn't been able to do anything all game long on offense, and when you get that final drive with Tom Brady, you just knew they were going to go down and score that touchdown, and they put the drama in it. I mean,
fourth down and long.
The fourth and long, never.
Fourth and short, fourth and goal. It was fourth down central.
Yep.
But, man, having a pass rush. That is a desirable thing.
Yeah.
So, and
not just that, but losing. I would say a large factor of the score was the Gostkowski missed extra point.
Unbelievable. 513 in a row.
Crazy.
All right, so that game obviously took place. Denver came out on top.
Did you kind of like that drama built in? Or would you have rather it was the old rule where there was a kind of an automatic extra point?
I don't think you can make an argument. The NFL could make an argument that this was all good. I mean, it was just all good to build into the game more decision-making and more drama.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I think that there's no way you would say otherwise. And to be honest, he made 513 straight extra points. I mean, it's just unbelievable he missed that extra point for him being that kicker, right? Some other news going on. We already talked about the Cardinal game. There's not a lot of fantasy news that broke, to break down in those games themselves other than just what took place on the field. I think that I guess we could talk a little bit briefly about New England.
Well, how's your
and Arizona next year?
How's your fantasy playoff challenge? Because mine's broken now. For
yeah.
sure.
Well, you know what?
I had a great comeback because I had almost all of my players on a 3 times multiplier, and this week, so I started off just terrible, and now I'm in the top portion, but I bet the farm on the Cardinals and the Patriots.
That's what you had to do.
I now will have an entire lineup of 1 times and have no chance to win it all.
See, I actually bet.
I'm where you are too.
Yeah, I bet the farm on. I have 4 Broncos on the way to the final round.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I had CJ Anderson's at 4X, and then Demaryius Thomas at 3X, and McManus and the Broncos D.
I've got the Broncos D from the get-go.
So good reminder on that one. We'll see. Other news that broke, Zach Ertz signed to a 5-year, $42.5 million contract extension through 2021. He got paid. He's a great player. We all said it. He was one of those guys that jumped out in the Truth About Tight End episode where his production and touchdowns didn't match up. Like, he only had 2 touchdowns, but he's a guy who was producing at great levels. Zach Ertz next year, we all like him.
Yeah, absolutely. The new hire up there with Peterson coming in, he does use the tight end. We were frustrated with the use of Kelsey, but Kelsey was still the second option on the team. I think Zach Ertz is hopefully the hype train doesn't get out of control over the offseason because he's going to be a target, especially for my team.
Yeah, he was one of our favorites coming into this year before his injury that really derailed the first half of the season. So next year, looking good.
So what's going on with Tony Romo?
Tony Romo, they have found out that his bones are made of soft glass.
Peanut brittle.
Peanut brittle.
It's delicious, but it's not good for a skeletal structure.
I want to hear more about this soft glass.
So they...
I want to hear more about this new material.
They have elected to bring Tony Romo under the knife and have surgery. They will be overlaying his bones with adamantium.
Yeah, he's going Weapon X.
Yes.
So the new, this is why I read the news, I guess, because it actually gets lost in fairy tales in the middle of you guys telling it. Tony Romo is undergoing surgery on his left collarbone where he's getting it reinforced for the sake, because he's broken it 3 times in 5 years. He'll be out 8 to 10 weeks and recovering from the surgery. And this is just one of those things where it shouldn't really impact the long term. Hopefully it helps him not get hurt like this again. But when you have an offseason that begins and ends with rehab situation, Romo's kind of been through that. I like Dallas a lot next year, but he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field or that team falls apart.
Well, that's the whole point of doing this is so that he can stay healthy next year. So you hope it's a good thing, but obviously never want to have to go under the knife. So, yeah, I expect he plays next year and plays well.
Mike?
I gave my 2 pieces.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's it for the news.
Is that it?
Unless you got something else
Well, we had one more thing. Oh, the Vikings hired Pat Shurmur.
as an assistant coach.
I think that's great. I think that's very good news for the Vikings offense and Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay. Anything else? Any other assistants?
Assistant.
Front office people hired?
We will have
Anybody hiring at the janitorial services?
It's still a little too early, but in the next couple weeks, we're going to have a show that will probably go through the coaching changes, the offensive coordinator changes. Those are some of the more important things to get early, even before the draft.